Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Closing Your House for the Summer. This is a presentation of Holmes Murphy as part of our service to the fraternal community. Today, we're featuring Amy Jo Gable from CSL Management. Their mission is to preserve the unique experience of Greek housing by providing practical solutions tailored to meet the distinctive operational challenges of those we serve. Amy Jo will be sharing some best practices for getting your facility ready for the summer break period. My name is Bobby Larson, and I serve Holmes Murphy as the education consultant, and I will be your moderator today. Before we begin, I want to go over just a few logistics regarding the audio and web-based features of today's program. The only people you'll be able to hear during the webinar are Amy Jo and me. Any questions or comments should be proposed in the messaging panel on your screen. If your messaging window doesn't appear, there's a bubble in the lower left corner of your screen. Just click on that. The PowerPoint on the website you're viewing right now will be advanced remotely, so just sit back, listen, and watch. If you have a question throughout the program, please feel free to type it into that messaging panel, and we'll keep track of those as we go. Please note that this webinar is being recorded to allow those who were not able to join us tonight to gain access to the material. Now let me introduce our presenter. For the past 2.5 years, Amy Jo has served as CSL's Director of Client Experience. She's a loyal alumna of Eastern Kentucky University, where she was initiated into Alpha Omicron Pi and received her BS in Education and MA in Instructional Leadership. She also serves as President of the university's Alumni Board, and she remains actively engaged with AOPI. She's a staunch advocate for the fraternity sorority experience, and she served students and alumni for the past 15+ years as a volunteer, campus professional, and headquarters staff member. At this point, I'm going to turn the program over to Amy Jo.
Thank you so much, Bobby, for the intro, and good evening, everyone. We appreciate so much Holmes Murphy extending the invitation to us to speak on this topic and are so grateful that each of you are listening in. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I'd like to do tonight is tell you who you're hearing from, what we do, and give you some bullet points regarding what we'll be covering on this webinar. So as Bobby said, my name is Amy Jo Gable. I serve as CSL's Director of Client Experience, and in this role, I work with all of our team in support of CSL clients and the students that are living in their chapter facilities as we try to preserve the unique experience of Greek housing. I also frequently present to various audiences on topics related to current housing trends and the changing demographics in higher education and how that impacts the future planning for Greek housing. I also want to take a moment to share with you a little bit about our company, CSL Management. The main thing we want you to know is we've been there. Over 90% of our team is Greek. We had a great college experience. We've lived in, we've seen it done well, and we've also seen the results of inefficiently managed houses. And we thought we could help improve that. The fraternity experience changed our lives, and we believe it can continue to do so. Our team is committed to preserving the unique experience of Greek housing, and we do that in a variety of ways. Day-to-day operations management remains our largest commitment, with 11 of our staff dedicated solely to meeting the everyday needs of our 170 fully managed client facilities. If you include the as-needed facilities such as university-owned, lodges, or chapter rooms, we support over 300 chapters. In addition to that, we also do extensive project management work in the form of small annual repairs and projects, all the way to large-scale renovations and brand new builds. Finally, we love having the opportunity to do things like this, educating others on what we are seeing and how together we can enhance the student experience in our Greek houses. So anyway, enough of that. Let's talk about why we all showed up at this time on a Tuesday night. How to close your chapter house. First, here are some things that we want to cover together. First, we're going to lay the foundation through some brief discussions on the house opening and move-in process. We will then jump to preparing for summer through both the resident move-out process and the actual closing of the house. We'll walk through all of that via a timeline of when certain things need to be done and in our suggested order. Finally, we'll give a few summer reminders and open the floor up for questions. So it's hard to believe that it's already April and we're even having the conversation, because it seems like not too long ago the school year was starting. And somehow all of our students that are currently in your house got there. So we need you to know that we're working off the assumption and the expectation that some kind of process happened at move-in. Residents were checked into their room, they filled out some kind of form, they were given their way to access the house, etc. This is something to know, because while we don't have time to cover move-in on this call, we will talk about closing procedures that are a culmination of items that we are expecting started at move-in. So disclaimer, before we get into the meat, let's be clear on one other thing. There is a difference between resident move-out and closing the chapter house. Yes, they are definitely intertwined throughout the timeline, and we'll talk about both. We just think it's important that you or your house corporation plan for both of these things and think through them separately to ensure all of the proper planning and preparation is in place. Okay, so now that we've laid the groundwork, let's start talking through the planning timeline. We started this timeline at 6 weeks before resident move-out days. This timeline incorporates items for house closing, but we aren't counting down from the day you leave the facility or the doors are locked for the summer. We are counting back from when the residents are moving out. We recognize that some on this call don't have that long. Don't panic. Adjust as needed for this year and plan accordingly for next year. We try to be conservative on the time, knowing how often we find that college students need to be reminded of important dates, as well as being able to account for some wiggle room, knowing all we do about the millions of other things that come up for each of you in a given day. So ideally, 6 weeks before move out. This is the time when someone should be partnering with the chapter officers to remind everyone of the date and time when the chapter house closes. Make sure that this is listed on the agenda announcements for chapter meetings from now until school ends. Make sure that the house is on a summer maintenance plan. Consider what kitchen equipment needs to be cleaned and calibrated. Make sure you get your HVAC system quarterly check scheduled, and consider what life safety inspections will come due over the summer or would be good to get done while there are no residents on site. You'll also want to make sure your pest control and lawn care don't miss a beat over the summer months. At 4 weeks before move out, schedule trash out for day after. Whether that's extra pickups, extra containers, or both, you're going to want to plan for the trash and recycling that will accumulate during the move out process. Coordinate for help as needed with alumni or advisors for the day of move out. If you need extra hands to assist during certain hours, don't be afraid to ask for help. Also, make sure that summer break plans have been communicated to someone. And if the house is going to be vacant for an extended amount of time, that persons have been identified that can and will walk the facility inside and out every 3 to 4 days. This could be an advisor, a local alum, a trusted vendor partner, but it's crucial the house isn't allowed to sit unattended all summer. At 2 weeks before, you're going to want to put together a communication that includes more details about the resident move-out process. This communication should include things like how you sign up for a move-out time, resident expectations for how to leave your room and ensure you get your full security deposit back, and details on the actual move-out days, such as where to park while loading and where the checkout desk is located. You can also have a process where the resident just turns in their key and forgoes the formal checkout process with an actual person. But in that case, the resident needs to understand that they are waiving their right to argue any damages assessed in their room. At 1 week before move out, get with the collegiate property manager and make sure that they do a sign-up audit to ensure that everyone has signed up for a checkout time. Contact the local or university police to ask about potential patrol or increased patrol during the times that the house will be vacant, and modify your mail and trash services as needed so that you aren't being billed unnecessarily. You also want to ensure that all of your residents have forwarded their mail, especially those that are not living in the house again next year. At 1 week before, you also want to be getting all your supplies together for move out. Pull all your room condition forms that were completed at move-in and have a master resident spreadsheet prepared. Supplies should also include things like bottled water for all the residents that are moving out and those that are helping them, pens, highlighters, post-it notes, and maybe even a speaker to play some music during the move-out process. Before we move on to the day of move out, I want to discuss a little bit more that resident communication. So here are some things that you should consider including in a communication regarding the expectations that you have for the residents during move out. First, list some details about the actual day, such as stick to your move out time that you indicated. If something comes up, let us know so we can reschedule you. You'll always want to let them know if there is designated parking spots for loading and where the move out desk location will be. You'll also want to remind them that they are expected to complete their checkout form completely and indicate in detail the condition of their room upon exiting. They should also turn in their key or fob or swipe card. Finally, list how you expect them to leave their room and other residential common areas. All of your belongings should be out of your room. Make sure you check bathrooms, drawers, closets, etc. All trash should be emptied. Floors should be broom clean. Windows should be closed and locked with blinds down. Lights should be off, etc. The one thing I will say about that, we recommend that you have on hand and available for your residents things like extra trash bags. Have some brooms on every floor. If you want to have some Clorox wipes or some Swiffer brooms or things like that, they will use them if they're available, is what we have come to find. So don't expect that they're going to bring them or have them on their person. This type of communication is helpful to ensure everyone is prepared for the day of move out. So I know this is a little bit hard to read on the screen, but this is an example of a room condition form that I've been talking about, and this is the one that CSL uses when we are conducting move-in or move-out for our clients. So there is nothing at all fancy about this form, but it does have some important things I'd like to point out. First, in the top right-hand corner, you'll see a spot for contract and paid in full. We recommend one of these forms per resident be completed, and you can use these spaces to indicate whether or not they've completed their contract and paid when prior to move-in. So this is a form that you would have started at the move-in process and they complete at the checkout process. We do not recommend you give access to any resident prior to these two things being completed. And then next you'll see the actual room inventory list, which is the bulk of the form. It is in the resident's best interest to be as detailed as possible on this. So once they complete the form, they sign and return it to the check-in or checkout table. On the day or days of move out, make sure you set up at least 30 minutes early. Ensure that all residents complete the checkout process and that they check out appropriately. When all the residents have checked out and left the property, make sure that all windows are closed and locked in the house with all blinds and drapes closed. Ensure that all doors are functioning as they should and are secure. This includes making sure that all key fobs have been disabled and door codes have been changed if applicable. Once move-out is complete, you're going to want to assess the entire facility for any damages or immediate repairs. The day after, make sure that you go into every room and do a damage assessment. In bedrooms, you should compare your findings to what the residents of the room listed as its condition. 2 days after, make sure that all the trash has been taken out and picked up. Don't forget about the exterior. You'll want to do a full walk of the outside, including the parking lot. Within 1 week, check your key, fob, card, whatever you have, inventory, and make note of any orders that need to be placed or keys that need to be made. The kitchen staff should complete a kitchen inventory of all food items, cutlery, and smallwares, and make note of anything that needs to be reordered. The same thing goes for the cleaning staff. They should also complete a cleaning supply and paper product inventory and restock and/or plan to order as necessary. Finally, the damage report should be finalized and sent to all necessary parties in case fines need to be assessed or security deposits need to be deducted from before they are sent. And now I want to show you some of the fun things that we have found during move out. So, pro tip, when doing check-in and check-out, make sure you check your closets. This is a sprinkler leak in a resident bedroom closet. We found it when we were doing a checkout of a sorority house. Not exactly sure when it started, but it had not been reported. So closets are one of those things that sometimes we tend to just peek in, okay, they've gotten everything out of it and move on. But always, always, always make sure that you are looking up, no matter at what point you're touring your facility. Second recommendation, please have some kind of policy on what you are okay with your residents using to hang things on their wall. Command strips aren't always the best, no matter how easy MC Hammer makes it look on the commercial. In this picture, this is why we recommend having extra trash cans or dumpsters around during the move-out process, because if you don't, your residents will tend to use whatever is there. In this case, it is the grease dumpster. So now, according to our timeline, summer's begun, and don't think that there is nothing to do just because the residents are gone, and don't think you can just sit around now on April 3rd and wait to plan for it because you have a few months. The house runs on a schedule, and it doesn't take a break over summer. We weaved many of this through the timeline, but we want to reiterate a couple of things. First, don't forget about necessary life safety inspections and preventive maintenance items that are coming due, or the things that are best taken care of while the residents aren't present. Also, we at CSL have been planning summer projects and cleanings for our clients for months now because of the rate at which things book up given our short window of time to get everything completed. Don't forget to schedule all the necessary cleanings that it takes to get the house ready for when it opens in the fall. A couple of other pictures for you. When we talk preventive maintenance, here is why we recommend drain snaking being one of those things. I know this picture is gross. Hopefully everyone's already had dinner. You might not feel it necessary to do it twice a year, but please do it at least once. That includes all of your sinks and shower drains. It's much cheaper to do this once or twice than to have the plumber come out on multiple calls throughout the course of the year. And then also, life safety checks should include all of your emergency exit lights and signage. And while I appreciate the effort here at this fraternity house, this light just doesn't cut it. Also, during the summer, make sure that you or someone is checking your attic spaces. You never know what you'll find in there that might need to be cleaned out while the residents are out of the house. And yes, on the right, that is a massive bird's nest that accumulated over time. And just in case your house actually does physically close for any time during the summer, there are a few other reminders we wanted to give. Make sure that all of your interior and exterior doors are closed and secure. Set all your thermostats to around 75 and secure any valuables that are in the house. And finally, set any security alarms. You don't have that long because before you know it, school's back in session and you're starting this all over again. So I know I covered a lot of material in a very short amount of time, and at this point I'm going to turn it back over to Bobby so we can answer any questions that you might have.
And again, if any of you have questions, there's that little bubble that'll open the messaging panel on your screen, and then we'll read them aloud and have Amy Jo share her expertise. As folks are thinking about it or typing, I will let you know that, again, this webinar is being recorded, and we will share the recording link once it's been posted. We have a summer break checklist that we share with our clients, and we'll be sharing that with you as well. And I don't know, Amy Jo, do you have any? It seems like last year you guys provided something that we shared as well. Perhaps that checklist that was on one of the
Yes.
slides?
Yep, we have from 6 weeks to the day after everything that we covered in much greater detail, but it's about 3 pages in total. And we can absolutely have that go out, Bobby, with the recording, however you all want to do it. Happy to share that.
All right. Any questions? We're not seeing any questions. You must have just done a bang-up job, Miss Amy Jo. And it was very thorough, although some of those pictures, makes me glad I'm not on a house corporation board anymore.
Those are some of the best.
All right. Well, if you think of questions, type them in. We're going to just keep going. We really appreciate all that you do in support of the chapters that you serve, and we thank you for your time tonight. Our fraternal practice is invested in developing and sharing content for fraternal organizations, and we're just really glad that you were able to take advantage of this webinar tonight. Our next webinar is scheduled for April 10th in our continuing coffee and conversation series. On April 20th, we'll hear from Dr. Jason Kilmer sharing the latest research about marijuana use on campus. Information on these and other webinars in our series can be found on the events page of our website, as well as links to all the recorded webinars. That's holmesmurphyfraternal.com. Shameless plug, holmesmurphyfraternal.com. Feel free to contact Amy Jo or me if you have any questions or would like any follow-up to this webinar. Again, seeing no questions, I think we'll just tell everyone to have a lovely evening. Good luck with the end of the semester. I hope everyone stays safe and sound, and that your properties make it through the summer break. Anything to add, Amy Jo? Here we got one. How much should you count on the students to administrate? Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, that's a great question, Paul. And we've had this come up quite often lately as we've had some conversations around what is the best use of a house director or a live-in advisor. We've got these collegiate property managers. We want them to get some leadership skills out of this. How much, should they do versus having somebody else come in around or behind them? I think there is plenty of room for everyone in the move-in, move-out process. For me, where we tend to get the best student support is on signing up, making sure that they are announcing to their chapter members, this is when the house closes, this is what is expected of everyone when you move out of the house, you need to sign up for a time. That is where we get the best support leading up to the actual day. When we do a checkout, we ask the collegiate property manager, how much do you want to participate? So we've had some that want to check out. They walk with us and do all the checkouts. They help in checking their peers out of the rooms, and then they also walk with us at the end of it all to just see how everything is. They don't participate in the actual assessing of the fines. That typically comes back to the house corporation, but they at least know and are okay when they see that, their friend down the hall had a bag of trash that they left there, and when you have that, it's $25 to take it out. They will be your advocate in saying, no, Joe, you left that there. So I think that as much as they want to participate, I think it's great. We are very much an advocate of students walking the house, learning what to look for, and and doing as much as they want to. I would never recommend they do the entire process. If you want them to do some of those beginning stages, and then make sure the house corporation or somebody else is there on the actual move out main day, or does the check at the very end. But those are some of my tips and thoughts on how much you allow the students to help in the process, because I think they can, again, be a huge advocate for you.
All right, last chance for questions, everyone. Watch for a follow-up email that includes the resources and the recording information. I will also tell you that in July, we will be doing a coffee and conversation featuring CSL management. So watch for that if you're interested in learning more about the services that they provide and the amazing staff that provide those services. So that will be, I think it's July 10th, perhaps the 12th. And if there are no other questions, I will just wish everyone a great evening and thank you again for your participation. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone.